These are the parts I'm going to be showing you how to dye today. These are parts that have been printed, 3D printed by Shapeways. These are the parts for my Little Orphan Android figure, and I'm very excited to see how this all turns out after it's been dyed, painted, and then assembled. So, first thing we need to do is we need to wash these off, and I'm going to show you how to do this. It's a kind of boring first step, but you need to do it. This is the first part of my tutorial on how to dye Shapeways parts. This is the parts in here. These are the white, strong, and flexible polished material. You will need your parts. You'll need a bowl of warm water, a toothbrush that is clean, and some dish soap. To begin, you will pour a little bit of dish soap in and stir it up. I'm putting the dish soap in second so there won't be very many bubbles. That way I can see what I'm doing. So that's all stirred up. Now we'll take our parts, open the bag, and with these, what you'll do is you'll put them into the water, swish them around, and you will wash them with the brush. Spend a decent amount of time doing this. The reason why you want to wash these parts is because the 3D printing process for these, it's called SLS printing, selective laser sintering, and the way it works is they layer down a very thin layer of powder, a thermoplastic, and then they go over it with a laser, and the laser will melt it together based on a cross-section from the models that have been submitted to Shapeways. And the result is that there is a block of powder with your parts inside. They remove the parts, and then they will wash off some of the SLS powder. Not all of it. Some of it will remain that... Well, there's a phone, but some of it will remain, and you have to remove it yourself. Now, if you were dyeing or painting anything else, you would still need to wash it because each manufacturing method that I've seen will leave some kind of residue on the parts. Injection molding will leave release agent, which is used to allow the part to come from the mold easily. And, well, printing and this are basically the only kinds of manufacturing methods I know of. Well, there would also be milling, but that would leave residue still from whatever material was used to mill it. They would just go ahead and wash each part. This will take a while. Probably won't show everything, just a general process. And then after all these parts have been washed, I will rinse them off in water, get all the soap out. And then, well, there's no reason to let them dry between the this and the dyeing process, because you're basically putting it into colored water anyway. But I may as well, because I have some other things to do before I can get to the next part of this tutorial on how to wash parts. On how to dye the parts. Yeah, I'm washing it right now. I know it's a little bit boring showing the washing process, but it's an important step. If you don't wash off the powder, then when you try and dye it, it will be an uneven dye because the powder will take it instead of the plastic in some places, and it looks kind of dotty, not very appealing. And if this were a injection molded piece, the release agent would keep it from... The release agent would keep the paint from adhering properly, and would cause it to rub off very easily over time. That's actually a problem that even normal manufacturers like Bandai run into sometimes. For example, on the VF25 Messiahs, they did not wash off the they didn't wash off the release agent. And what happened is that it left the figure feeling very greasy, and the paint rubbed off very easily. And, well, part of that is because they wanted a nice shiny finish on the figure, but it's a problem if that stuff isn't washed off before paint is applied. So my parts have all now been washed, but they still have some soap on them, so the next thing we need to do is we need to rinse them. Just basically the same thing as before, with the toothbrush with all the soap washed out and a bowl of non-soapy water. Just put it in and scrub out all the soap that you put in there. This is to make sure that nothing weird happens with the chemicals in the dye, and so when you actually go to paint this, there won't be any, you know, soap left over on it. Although with what happens in the dyeing process, most of the soap should be removed anyway, because you're basically going to be putting it into boiling water. Go ahead. So there's not much to this. It's just getting all the soap out, making sure it's doubly clean, and it's pretty simple. Just take a little bit of time to do it, make sure you do it right, and when it's all done, you'll be ready to have your parts all dyed up. So this, you're basically going to see me do the same thing as in the last part of this video, except my fingers won't be soapy, so I'm going to turn this off now, and the next part will be actually dyeing the parts. Thank you for watching.